This book, The Working Poor, helps explain poverty in America. This book is an eye-opening description of the problems that many families face who work low-wage jobs and can never get out of the difficult situations they face. It reflects much of what our class material has been about, especially on the age of growing inequality, where the less educated and the less skilled have the most to lose. The fact that upward mobility in the United States has declined and downward mobility has increased. Gilbert in our textbook talks about the things that have made it difficult for people to get ahead, like economic reconstruction and globalization and outsourcing of jobs. Low-income families have the potential to remain poor, and children are at risk for remaining poor. In this book, The Working Poor, authored by David Shipler, discusses the effects of poverty and the people in America who are poor, who are the lowest level of the economic attainment. He looks at white, black, Asian, and Hispanic as poverty in America encompasses all races. He followed some people's lives for 5 years to see how their lives unfold and how it is not the end to the difficulty of poverty in most cases. Shipler talks about people in the working world that are forgotten and are trapped in low-wage work. The 1996 welfare reform brought about many changes where welfare recipients must work to receive benefits but keep many at low wage without health care. Shipler talks about the American myth that says that any individual can climb to well-being with hard work. The myth can cause blame and judgment. The opposite is the American anti-myth that says society is largely responsible for the individual's poverty. The working person doesn't fit easily into either myth. Causes such as unwise behavior do not affect on poverty, but also inherited conditions of being poorly parented and poorly educated and poorly housed, which are out of someone's control. Federal government defines poverty of less than $24,250 in 2015. Shipler talks about high interest credit cards and loan sharks cause great financial problems for low-wage workers. Heavy debt can ruin a credit rating, as it is the case of Willie and Sarah Goodell. Without health insurance, Willie's medical bills grew and he was unable to pay. He also talks about several people like Christy and Deborah Hall who had jobs in the welfare to work programs, but it caused them to make less money in the long run. Caroline was also part of the working poor who lost her teeth and the cause and effects of problems that prevent people from getting good jobs and keep them stuck at low levels. Lack of education keeps them in poverty. Caroline got a job at Walmart but had no medical insurance because she couldn't pay the premiums. Shipler focuses on immigrants who come to America and are forced to work in sweatshops making garments. Many businesses don't think they can stay in business without the undocumented immigrants. The author talks about formidable walls that surround the subcultures of Koreans, Chinese, Vietnamese, Mexicans, Hondurans, the Ethiopians, and low-paid workers. The authors argue that they aren't American, but they are an essential part of America. They work in the garment industry, in restaurants, or farmers, and as landscapers. They are the key contributors to America's well-being. Shipler also talks about undocumented workers and farm labor. Many face health risks from pesticides and toxic residues, and most field hands have no insurance. The United Farm Workers of America is a union that formed to incur fines to farm owners who do not comply to the mandatory waiting periods before resuming hand harvesting. These immigrants are essential to America, Shipler says. Shipler talks about the link between poverty and poor nutrition and brain development in poor children from malnutrition. One quote Shipler says is, Food is one of the few flexible parts of a tight budget. Rent and car payment have to be paid, but food is an option for many. Also, Inferior medical care, nutritional deficits leave lower income people vulnerable to disease and stress. Shipler talks about the evidence in the book that working poverty is the result of many difficulties individuals encounter, such as low education, limited abilities, unwise spending, poor housing, and health.